Good evening, everybody.
Hello, hello out there.
Welcome to another episode of Critique Corner with me, Daniel Parker.
And me, DB Fastbinder, the show where we talk about trends in culture so we can kind of expect what we're going to see more of.
Yes, indeed. And if you're new to the show, ordinarily what we do is we start off with our thing of the week, which is a media that we've been consuming, and then we get into the recent box office, and then get into our topics. But we're doing something a little different this for this show. We're actually going to start with box office, and then move
Mhm.
on to our thing of the week because DB's thing of the week kind of ties into one of our topics. So
Indeed.
yeah, so here we go with box office.
Yep. So, rounding out our top five, we've got Avatar: The Way of Water with 15 million to add on to its $2 billion gross. Puss in Boots with 10, and then a new drop called Pathan, which is a Indian movie, which at number three, which I'm reasonably certain this is the highest it's an Indian movie has made it into the U.S. box office. I remember that there was one last summer that it was a big deal that it had made like 3 million its opening weekend.
Hmm. And hey, D Rhino, good to see you.
Hey, hey.
Yeah, it wasn't RRR, was it?
No, RRR I think was a bigger deal on Netflix. Like I think it
Okay.
got like limited showings. Although, as is one of my catchphrases, why speculate wildly when we can double check?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's du- 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 du, opening weekend. Okay, so I guess it did have a big opening weekend. I don't know why people are saying this one's historic.
Yeah.
That 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 could just be I don't know. Didn't research it, didn't have time.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. That's all right. I think Pantheon. I remember. I think Film Threat did a review of it, and they really enjoyed it. It's basically a standard action movie, kind of like an old James Bond type of
yeah,
movie.
which when RRR was kind of similar. It's kind of interesting how the Indian studios have kind of sensed a gap in the American market and are kind of trying to hone in on it.
Yeah, I got to give him credit for finding finding what a need that needs to be filled. Yeah,
A niche, yes.
niche. Yeah,
Let's see here. Other parts of the top five: A Man Called Otto, aka
uh,
the Oscar bait movie that did not bait any Oscars. Because
yeah,
I don't remember seeing Tom Hanks's name in the Best Actors, and this feels like the type of movie where you bring in Tom Hanks because you're going, eh, yeah.
yeah, yeah. You like Tom Hanks, right? Right?
We don't know how much longer he'll be around.
Yeah. he's 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 the lovable guy that the American audiences really like, and everybody loves him.
Yeah, although apparently not enough to go to the theater to see it.
Yeah,
Because off of a $50 million budget, we're looking at 73 million worldwide. So even if even if distribution and advertising costs weren't a thing,
yeah.
uh,
Yeah, how much of that $50 million budget was Tom Hanks's salary?
good question. A very good question.
Yeah,
So we've got, is it, did you say Megan,
I
Mithrigan?
think I say Megan.
Okay.
Yeah,
There's Mithrigan, which is more
Mithrigan.
fun.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
it rounds out the top five.
Mhm.
Pretty muted weekend, though February and January kind of usually movie dead zone.
Yeah,
Uh, Next big release is going to be Ant-Man and Quantumania, which
yeah,
could be interesting.
yeah. That Left Behind. They made another Left Behind movie. Oh my, what?
Yep.
Oh, what? Kevin Sorbo, of course.
Yeah. Although it isn't even good theology.
No,
Uh,
no, it's
like,
not.
if I'm sorry to say that if you believe in the rapture, basically there was no mention of the rapture at any point until I think it was a Scottish Presbyterian
Mhm.
came up with the concept in the 19th century. So you're not really have a leg to stand on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm sorry, but
And
no
yeah,
budget listed. So
yeah. And D-Ron says the only time I really appreciated Tom Hanks was the World War II museum. I haven't been
uh,
there yet. I need to check that out.
kind of like Bill Murray, who that might be a call up for something that's coming up in a minute.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, he's at his best in like the 80s, 90s before he started taking himself seriously.
Yeah.
Although I did enjoy him in the Simpsons movie, like where basically, hi, I'm Tom Hanks, once again loaning my credibility to the U.S. government,
Yeah. Yeah.
or something like
Yeah.
that.
Something like that. Yeah. And although I will say, Apollo 13 is one of my favorite movies.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that one in a while.
Yeah. It's I watched it recently. It still holds up. Uh, but uh, but yeah, I mean, not I mean, obviously, it's we're January going into February, and um, not a whole lot coming out, and until Ant-Man, which that's what, March,
I think it's February.
February. Okay.
But we have our answer over here. So I saw a link a minute ago.
Yeah, there it
Of
is.
course, on the 24th we have Cocaine Bear.
Ooh.
February 17th for Ant-Man, 24th for Cocaine Bear. Ant-Man didn't dare go directly up against Cocaine Bear.
Yes.
the the uh, the upcoming movie of the year of 2024. 2023. I might actually have to see that.
I might have to see it too, just to see how just I'm expecting it to just be completely bonkers.
Yes.
But no,
So I think that we talked about how we kind of analyze this because we kind of just did it at first because it was fun, but I think that what it really kind of shows you is trends. Um, so I'm kind of a paleontology nerd. It's like I really like dinosaurs, ancient life of all types. I used to be all dinosaurs, and then I started broadening my horizons to other stuff.
yeah.
So there's a constant phenomenon in paleontology where some sort of creature gets somewhere that isn't ready for it, and it suddenly develops into something bigger than it should be. But then, so the example is South America was isolated for a long time. Before
Mhm.
South America and North America actually linked up, they had these fossils of some sort of raccoon that was the size of a bear. That's because some raccoon-like thing drifted over, and there was nothing to stop it, so it
Uh,
just got big. And then the land masses hooked up. It's only proper large predators came down to South America from North America,
uh,
and no more raccoon bear.
oof.
So I think that we're kind of in the nothing big is coming to the table to chase off some of these niche things. Because like a
Mm.
Left Behind movie that made $2 million has no business being in the top 10.
Yeah.
Um, Plane should be a bigger deal than it actually is, considering some of the names involved and the fact that it is that action movie that we were just saying that people keep going to India for these days.
Yeah. Yeah.
But because of issues like the unspecified virus of unknown origins,
Mhm.
uh, wokeness mixed with bad writing, uh,
Yeah.
all people want to see are big spectacle things. So we've got our Avatar,
Mhm.
animated stuff like our Puss in Boots, um, horror like our Mithrigan,
Mhm.
and bits and pieces of Oscar bait like Everything Everywhere All at Once. Looks like it got back into theaters because they said, "Hey, we can squeeze a little more blood out of this stone."
Oh yeah.
And the whale right behind it because
Yeah.
everyone's talking about Brendan Fraser there.
Yeah. And then women talking.
Yes, which might actually might have a little bit of life in it because they took it from 200 to 700 theaters, which actually no 150 to 700 theaters, which never hurts.
Yeah.
But this is some doldrums here. This is some serious doldrums.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like this is the sort of environment where I would say if anybody at Netflix was clever, they would take a bunch of these movies that they've had on the service for that they've come out in the last few years
Mhm.
and put them out into theaters for like a month each or something.
Yeah. Mm.
Because the worst thing you can do is, oh no, it's advertising for our service on
They-
for movies we technically already lost money on anyway.
Yeah. Oh no.
But
Yeah.
as far as what people are watching from the safety of their own homes, uh, Black Adam has actually climbed its way up to number one after being out about a month on there.
Yeah.
And this isn't this chart here is not Black Adam is not, what do you call it? Does this not reflect HBO Max? This is just people buying it on disc, renting it on Redbox, or buying it digitally on Amazon or iTunes or Xbox or whatnot.
Yeah.
So this is people plunking down additional money for it. Not going to make it profitable because those projections that The Rock put up on Twitter are nonsense.
Yes.
But a little salve to the ego. Violent Night. Christmas movies are always so awkward to release because, like, do you release it when everyone's fresh on it, or do you wait for the next Christmas and hope that people remember it fondly?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a yeah. Yeah. It's 50-50, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Although Christmas movies do tend to have long-term legs, just because if you can become somebody's favorite Christmas movie and get played every year, that's a lot of opportunities to sell special editions.
Yeah.
Speaking of the home market, we're seeing a few things that are kind. Well, first off, they looks like they came out with House of the Dragon. Um, let's see, your video release date August 21st. It hasn't really shown up here, so that makes me wonder if there's a physical edition that finally came out.
Yeah. Maybe.
The timing would be about right for it.
Yeah.
Till is moving its way up. This one has had some controversy because everyone's like, why did this movie get in there instead of Till for Best Actress or Best Supporting Actress?
Hmm.
I forget the controversy. It wasn't interesting to me.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. We don't care.
Ticket to Paradise tanked a bit, so I guess it's not going to ride all the way to Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Lyle Lyle Crocodile has just been tucked in there in this 9 to 10 spot for months now.
Huh.
Then we got a couple of things that are related to current releases because Netflix just came out with that 90s show, the sequel to that 70s show.
Which I've heard isn't very good.
I have heard mixed things, and that 70s show is something I really enjoyed back in the day.
Hmm.
But those things where you're like, I don't dare watch it again because I probably won't like it anymore, and I don't want to ruin the memory.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very pretty common with a lot of old television shows, especially sitcoms. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
just. Yeah.
But Yellowstone's up there because the world is obsessed with Yellowstone, which the best description I've heard of it is basically tough cowboys in a soap opera.
Mm.
Uh, Devotion is in there. Halloween Ends is in there. More Yellowstone. The
The
one that I thought
menu.
was interesting, the Dentist Collection. You know what that is?
I did no. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, they don't have anything here for it, so that's just so weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, Paw Patrol, which that's the first time we've seen it on this chart. So,
Yeah.
but the one I noticed here was Harry Potter: The Complete 8-Film Collection, which I
Hmm.
suspect that Warner Brothers may have pushed or re-released with the upcoming Hogwarts Legacy video game. Is it actually already out yet?
It's
Uh,
either out or it's coming soon, I think.
let's find out. When do you?
And hey, Ninja Toe, good to see you. And Dean Rhino says he booted up Callisto Protocol to play New Game Plus, and at the beginning cutscene already glitched out. It reset itself.
Oh, sorry, man.
Jeez. Yeah.
Also, Hogwarts Legacy comes out on the 10th, so
Okay.
we're
Yeah.
not too far off.
Yeah. Yeah. It's Ninja Toe next week. Yeah.
All right. So I think what this just tells us is um, actually, so this list is more interesting because you see what people want to watch mixed with like for in terms of long form versus episodic.
Right.
Um, Shows you that there's still a audience for Black Adam type movies, or at least people are curious about it now. They don't have to trudge to the theater.
Yeah. Or they would rather spend whatever $25 on a Blu-ray or a digital copy than
Right.
than get HBO Max.
Yeah, that's true. Better long term investment.
Hmm.
Elvis is doing pretty nicely for itself. Getting those Oscar nods certainly helped.
Yeah.
Uh, and we're seeing more. I think that we're seeing more TV shows in here than we have in past weeks.
Yeah,
Um,
which that's interesting.
yeah, that itself is kind of interesting, just because it tells you that there might not be enough movies to meet all the demand.
Yeah.
Which I think is, which actually I think is kind of our drumbeat. Where what we're seeing here is like, again, the giant raccoon bear that we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
It's like again, a $6 million movie imported from India should not be the number three movie in a healthy box office.
Right. Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
not to say anything bad about Pathan because I haven't seen anything about it,
Yeah.
but it's just an unusual choice to have in there.
Yeah, yeah, you don't it's not a movie that you would normally under normal circumstances you would see in the box office in American top charting in the American box office.
It's like in August when that Dragon Ball Super movie was number one for a weekend.
Yeah.
Like, this is weird. This is weird. This feels
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah.
But I think that about covers our things here. There's not a
Yeah.
lot of new trends. I think we're just seeing that some holes the that mainstream Hollywood isn't filling are being fulfilled by the raccoon bears. Which,
Yes.
if people like that term, I might just start using that as our term for
It-
for things that punch above their weight because there's nothing to fight them.
oh yeah. Yeah. Sounds good to me.
Speaking of people who kind of look like bears, I don't know, transitions happen.
Transitions, yeah. Well, from raccoons to groundhogs.
Yes.
So my thing of the week was, of course, the classic comedy, Bill Murray comedy, Groundhog Day, because today is Groundhog Day. So I thought I'd go back and revisit this movie. Hadn't seen it in a few years, so wanted to give it another watch. Still holds up. It's still pretty funny. Of course, Bill Murray's Bill Murray. It's Bill Murray in his prime. Ninja Toes his dad's watching this movie right now. um, but for those of you who maybe have never seen this movie, and it's one of my favorite comedies too. Ninja. It's so Bill Murray plays Phil Connors. He's a Pittsburgh weatherman, and he's sent to Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, to cover the annual Groundhog Day festival. And he goes out there with his cameraman, who's played by Chris Elliott. He's been in a bunch of stuff, and his new producer, who's played by Andy McDowell, and she's the love interest in the movie. And of course, he doesn't want Murray's. Phil is just a jerk. It starts off he's very self-centered. He's very narcissistic. He's in the beginning of the movie. He's like, well, I'm getting calls from other networks, and so and then when he goes out to Punxsutawney to cover the festival, he just doesn't want to do it. He don't want to be there, and they end up getting snowed in. They can't leave town, so they have to spend the night there. And of course, if you've seen the movie, you know what happens. But he wakes up and it's Groundhog Day all over again. And so he's stuck in this time loop of where it's Groundhog Day every day. And like with a lot of movies that are time loop, they use the time loop as a plot device. It's mainly about the character that's caught in the time loop.
Mhm.
So yeah, they go from they have to go from the progression of being, usually they change. So they go from being like just a total jerk to good person. And of course, that's what happens here with Bill Murray. He goes on that same journey because as he's staying in the town, and he starts talking to he starts to get to know all the people in the town. Like there's a great scene in there where where he's with Andy McDowell, and he's pointing out all the people. Oh, this is the waitress. This is Dolores, and she wants to go to, and she's been working here since she's 17. Her brother-in-law owns the place, and she wants to go see Paris before she wants to visit Paris before she dies. And she's like, oh yeah, she's he's right, and he's pointing out all everybody, and so there's that part of it, and then of course the Ned Ryerson, Phil. Phil Connors.
Yeah, it's like wasn't it like one day he asked him these questions, and then the next, no, he used that to seduce a woman at some point.
Yes, yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah. He sees this, really, real. He sees this woman at the diner, and he asks her like, where did you go to high school? She says, oh, I went to da da da, and your English teacher, 12th grade English teacher was, Mrs. Whatever. Oh, okay, and then the next day he's like, oh, hey, Nancy, it's me.
I,
I'm,
I had the biggest crush on you.
yeah. I asked you to the prom. Uh, but yeah,
A lot of
and
gaslighting.
yeah, a lot of gaslighting there. Oh yeah, and he does that with Andy McDowell too. He starts finding out all this stuff about her. Like, he sees her at the bar, and he's like, oh well, can I buy you a drink? And she's like, yeah, sure. And he orders a Jim Beam and water, and she orders a sweet vermouth with a whatever. And he's like, oh. But then, like the next go around, he orders the same thing, and she's like, "Oh, that's my favorite drink. Really, me too." And of course, he takes a sip of it, and he's just like, "Oh, good." But yeah, it's a funny movie, and it's of course it was co-written and directed by Harold Ramis. Of course, Harold Ramis directed. No, he didn't direct Animal. No, that was Landis. He co-wrote Animal House, but he directed like uh, Caddyshack and trying to
If
think
I
one.
can, if I can interject for a second,
Yeah,
Caddyshack might be like one of the most incoherent movies I've ever seen when you really think about it.
it is. Yeah, it is. But here the weird thing though, the little sidetrack. Like you ask any professional golfer playing right now, you ask them what their favorite movie is, they'll all tell you it's Caddyshack. Like
Uh,
every single one of them.
it's like I've heard that like, if you go to law school, My Cousin Vinny is required watching basically, and people will quote it all the time.
Yeah. But yeah, and of course, most people know Harold Ramis from Ghostbusters, which was also with Bill Murray. And they were, and unfortunately, this was the last movie that they collaborated on, because they had a falling out when they were making the movie. And I watched the movies that made us series, and
Mhm.
I watched the episode on Ghostbusters, and they interviewed Ramis's daughter, and she said nobody really knows what happened between the two of them. One story that I heard was that they did have some like creative differences with the movie. Like Murray wanted it to be more philosophical, and and Ramis just wanted to stick to the comedy. Uh,
Mm.
but yeah, because this was kind of a weird time where Murray was trying to be like Tom Hanks, where he was trying to move away from comedies and trying to do more serious stuff.
Every actor, every comedic actor does this. Will
Yeah,
Smith did it. Uh,
yeah. Robin Williams,
yeah,
yeah,
even
Steve
Adam
Carell, yeah,
Sandler made sporadic attempts at it.
yeah, Jim Carrey, yeah,
It's like, no, look, I'm sorry. You are a funny person.
yeah.
Mm.
Be funny. uh, but yeah, this is. I think this movie still holds up really well. I actually saw it in the theater when it came out. Uh, if you want to feel old, this movie came out 30 years ago.
Oh no.
Yeah, yeah, it came out February of 1993. But
It's
yeah, but yeah, this is a good movie to watch, even not on even if you don't want to. You don't even have to watch it on Groundhog Day. You can watch it any time of the year, really.
Yep. Just set your calendar on your computer to February 2nd out of
Yes,
solidarity.
yes. But yeah, that's Groundhog Day.
All right. Well, so it occurs to me that there is a little bit of appropriateness besides it being Groundhog Day itself.
Uh,
Um, this is going to feel like a bit of a repeat because my thing of the week is Hi-Fi Rush. Now it's kind of a repeat because Hi-Fi Rush has actually managed to be not only my thing of the week but also one of our topics of the week.
yeah.
So I'm going to divorce those two things so that it's easy for Daniel to make the video later.
Yes.
So we're going to look here at Hi-Fi Rush as a product. So one of my, if not my favorite Xbox exclusives of the Xbox One era, you might go, there were Xbox One exclusives in the Xbox One era? Yes, there were. Just a lot of them were kind of half-baked or didn't go anywhere or got canceled like Scalebound. But what
Yeah.
the one that I was upset that more people didn't like was a little game called Sunset Overdrive. Sunset Overdrive, which is actually still available if you have Game Pass or if you, I think it's on Game Pass, or you can pick it up on Steam or Xbox. It's basically you're a janitor in a town where an evil company comes out with a new energy drink that makes people mutate into zombies. And the game was all about freedom of motion, grinding on rails, Ratchet and Clank style weapon systems, and a ridiculous over the top scenario.
Okay.
Uh, this game is the closest we are going to get to a Sunset Overdrive 2. And so I'm going to give a little bit of context. So last week on Wednesday, I was completely miserable. My day job had me so exhausted that I just ended up coming home, turning on my Xbox, and I was just, grumpy bear. Just nothing was going to make me happy. So I happened to turn it on, and I had forgotten that they were going to do their showcase that day. So I turned on the Xbox, like, "Hey, showcase is starting in 30 seconds. You want to watch?" It's like, "Oh, I guess as long as I'm here."
Yeah.
So they started off with they started off with a Minecraft thing. I don't care about Minecraft, but whatever, good for them.
Uh-huh.
And then then they go into this year's either their Redfall game first and then this, or this and then Redfall.
Mm.
And I'm watching this like, what is this? This wasn't leaked. They managed to drop this completely unleaked, and it's this ridiculous anime meets Saturday morning cartoons, um, rock and roll beat 'em up action game with a rhythm element.
Huh.
Um, and they hit the end of the presentation. They say, "Oh, by the way, you can play it right now
Huh.
because of Game Pass."
Huh.
So me, grumpy bear mode, said, "Oh, okay, I'll give this a shot." And it turned my mood quite a bit around. Like I was much happier after an hour or so of this. I still was so tired I went to bed at 7 o'clock in the evening, but but still, it was a nice ending to the day. And just like Sunset Overdrive, premise here is you're a you're a loner wannabe rock and roll star who can't actually play the guitar, but he's sure he'll get there. Named Chai. The main characters are named after T's.
Ah.
Uh, and he volunteers for this project, but there's a manufacturing defect. His iPod gets embedded in his chest, and because of it doesn't have to make sense. It's a magical realism video game. The beat of whatever song is playing on the iPod stuck in his chest is being implanted onto reality. So all enemies, objects in the environment, Everything else is moving in rhythm to whatever song he's listening to at the time.
Ah. Huh.
So it's kind of a Devil May Cry beat 'em up, where you get where the challenge isn't just, you can just you do basic combos, but you can unlock more combos as you go, and you get more points and do more damage to the enemies if you can time your attacks sync with the in sync with the beat of the song.
Oh,
And they have ways to help out with that. I've turned those off because it's kind of distracting to have the little metronome thing at the bottom of the screen,
yeah.
and I want to get better on my own,
Hmm.
which I have been slowly getting better.
Hmm.
But this game is just an absolute blast. It at first it feels a little too simple, like you're kind of just wandering around, uh, destroying things in the environment to get materials for reasons you aren't sure about, and every so often you're interrupted by an enemy attack.
Yeah.
But they are slowly layering on a pretty complex battle system so that you can grasp it as you go.
Ah, okay.
So I've beaten the first two levels. Um, I will say that there are aspects here that, okay, like let's just zoom in on this character here. Du-du-du-du-du. Doesn't she kind of look like by the way, the side of the hair that you can't see, shaved.
Of course.
Doesn't she look like every obnoxious know-it-all girl power character you've seen in the last 10 years?
Yes.
She works. Like
Oh.
she's kind of like that Lego girl where it's like, okay, that's her tropes, but her banter with the main character Chai here, who's kind of like a Star-Lord style lovable idiot,
Ah.
actually works. And like they get the better, like he gets the better of her occasionally, and the game is based on his growth, so it
Mm.
all tracks.
Yeah. Yeah.
This little cat here, freaking adorable. It bobs around you most of the time, helping you keep. It's pulsing to help you keep the beat.
Ah.
This guy, I do not recall his name because I only just met him half a level ago. But he's like a big strong guy you can summon to punch through things, and he's like a kind of nebbish mad scientist. And this robot here is great. Like he draws with a dry eraser mark to give himself expressions. He's like a psychologist robot who's very like basically has the bedside manner of Doctor Strange. Okay, Holy Ninja says, I think I'm falling in love with Corsica, the redhead security lady. She is a top tier best girl. She's this one
Ah.
back here.
Okay.
But the game is also just full of all sorts of ridiculously wonderful references on top of the gameplay. Like
Oh.
the first villain is a big, muscular wrestle woman. And like,
Ah.
but it's like if you took Macho Man Randy Savage, made him a woman, and then made her work in corporate America. And when you beat her, the achievement is the cream of the crop. Um, there's a mad scientist character who doesn't appear in this picture. He is 100% at JoJo's references. He's constantly doing those Iraqi poses all over the place.
Yeah, yeah, Ninja Turtle. Yeah, he
Yeah, yeah,
says the
yeah,
same thing. Yeah.
yeah. It's that's about as far as I've gotten in. But it's fun. I mentioned last week that with Puss in Boots, it was the kind of effortless stylishness that made you wonder, why can't every movie be this good? It isn't actually that complicated.
Yeah.
This feels like it's a bit harder to pull this off than that, just because gameplay you have to factor in too,
Hmm.
uh, all those systems you're building. But this is this is a pretty amazing accomplishment in my opinion, and to just come out of nowhere and make the impact that it has, like people are already calling this a possible game of the year candidate.
Wow. Okay, I'm gonna have to play this game.
Yes, yes, you will.
I will be
Uh,
playing this game at some point. Yeah.
Also, I'm glad I see that we have a couple more Sunset Overdrive appreciators in the
Oh
environment
yeah.
or in the chat here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so I guess I wasn't the only one who appreciated it, so that's good.
Yeah.
Between this and Puss in Boots and Persona 5, it's been nice to just have some media that I stumble into that doesn't set off a lot of alarm bells, or when the alarm bells are set off, it
Yeah.
turns out it's like, no, she's just like, she's fine. Don't.
Yeah.
Also, Holy Ninja kind of stealing my thunder here slightly, but thanks for reminding me because I had kind of drifted off of that. Uh, So this was a game that is modestly budgeted, and it was done by the studio who did The Evil Within as a way to train up their next generation of developers and just to do something extremely different. Like they're Tango Games, Tango GameWorks. I think it's Tango GameWorks.
Mm.
They're basically known for nothing but horror games, and
Ugh.
they come out with this.
They do this. Wow.
But
Yeah.
this is yeah it's this was so good that I actually decided to just purchase it outright. And if they come out with a physical edition, I'll probably pick up that as well because please, we need more games like this. I want a Hi-Fi Rush 2, and I'm not even done with the game yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the art style on this. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of great animation too, both traditional and just the way the characters move around.
Yeah.
It's it feels like you could have probably done a game in this general style on a Dreamcast or a PS2,
Hmm.
but just you wouldn't have the same polish on it. So it
Hmm.
feels like it's a good use of modern technology to not try to like get every pixel and every blade of grass, but to just to like
Yeah.
sell a story and sell a story, sell a vibe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, Also, they were Good Guy Greg, and they have a streamer mode where it will give you more generic rock music to be the beat of the level because they know that they don't want people getting flagged for trying to stream it.
Ah. Well, that's good of them to do that. Yeah, thinking of streamers like that. Wow.
Yep. So I think that's everything I have to say about this game as a piece of media. Um,
Mhm.
all right, that's our transition point.
Oh, the transition point. Okay.
So, Hi-Fi Rush is also it's I don't want to call this culture war exactly because this isn't that. This isn't, oh, everyone go see Battle Angel Alita because we hate Brie Larson. Uh, it's it is a console war moment because the game we're about to talk about is a PS5 PC exclusive versus this one being an Xbox PC exclusive.
Hmm.
Um, but this is like night and day in terms of what they are. I had just talked about how this is a game that's just sold on style and not trying to lovingly render every blade of grass.
Mhm.
Our other game, which came out earlier in the week compared to it, I think they came out within a day of each other or so. I think it was like
Mhm.
Tuesday versus Wednesday.
Ah.
Um, is Forspoken, which I have some. It's had an interesting reaction online. Daniel, if you wouldn't mind pulling up that trailer.
Sure thing.
Uh,
All right. Make sure. Okay. Share audio.
While he pulls this up, for context, this is a Square Enix game exclusive to the PS5 and the and PC, so it is available on Steam. And this was well known. This game was well known in advance. They've been doing it for a while. It's like an isekai game, a fantasy game about a girl from New York, and so people noticed some things about it when they had some samples of the in-game dialogue and style and stuff. So let's go ahead and give this a watch.
Yeah. 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 I got okay. I
Hey,
got closed caption on.
we are now for the sake of your safety at home. If you are allergic to cringe, you may want to turn off the stream for a little bit.
Yeah. All right. Here we go.
The people behind Final
I'll
Fantasy
let you in on
15.
a secret, but I'm a pretty big deal. Real big deal. We are getting out of this city, Homer. I promise we'll go somewhere that loves cats. No more fights.
Oh, pause for a second. Was that hotel just called the hotel?
Let me back it up here. Uh, yes.
Maybe there's some more name underneath there, but still, that okay. Sorry, maybe I'm just trying to delay the cringe a little bit, but
Well, no, it's actually good if we do this. If we do it like this, that less likely to get a
that's
copyright
true.
strike. Because then it falls under fair use. So
Yes.
all right, here we go.
Clean air, bright skies. What the actual fuck?
I gotta say the animation looks terrible.
Yeah, it's not very well it's not very well motion captured.
Yeah, it's and the
The cat kind of moved stiffly earlier.
yeah it's
Maybe Homer's an old cat. I don't know.
yeah I don't know. Well, I thought video games were supposed to be getting better looking, not cheaper looking.
Yeah, I'm getting some real Marvel's The Avengers vibes from this.
Yeah.
Whoa, wait, stop! Whoa. Where on earth is this?
Africa.
Who's there?
And technically not Earth. Well, not what you would call Earth, anyway.
I swear to God, asshole, show yourself!
Chris Hemsworth.
Oh.
Yeah. Wonder how much they paid him to do this.
Well, he sounds kind of bored, so
Yeah,
probably
kinda-
not enough.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah, probably the same amount of money they paid Peter Dinklage on Destiny.
Oh. Probably a little bit more than that. He sounds like he's giving slightly more of a shit than Peter Dinklage did.
Oh man.
Show myself. I've shown.
Where are you?
Right here, at the end of your arm.
Oh no, she's Ms. Marvel Kamala Khan.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let me get this straight. I'm somewhere that's not what I would call Earth. I'm seeing freaking dragons, and oh yeah, I'm talking to a cop. Did I just do that?
We did.
I just moved it with my freaking mind! Yeah, okay, that is something I do now.
That is something I do now.
I mean, I who writes this crap?
I do magic, kill jacked up beasts.
Uh,
Oh man.
yeah.
I do magic, kill jacked up beasts. I'll probably fly next.
No, you're just being ridiculous.
Oh, that's too far. Good to know there's a line.
Our land suffers. You are the only hope we have.
You're special. You're the one that's planning on facing off with Sylar.
Tanta Sylar is the strongest and most formidable of all the Tantas. You will be doing our land a great service by killing her.
Midgeto says it could be worse. Yeah, I guess.
Oh, I've seen some of the cutscenes. It's they're not putting their worst foot forward here.
Yeah. And D. Rhino says Project Eve and Black Myth Wukong look true next gen. I haven't seen either of those yet. I know Project Eve, but I haven't seen that. I didn't know that was getting a remake. Yeah. Excuse me. There you go.
From what I can tell, you don't get attacks that look that cool until way late in the game.
Oh, of course.
Early on in the game, you're just shooting rock bullets.
No name for
Oh,
a
jeez.
demon.
I am the one you seek, the one and only Tanta Sylar.
So, from what I could tell, this game is very much in the style that Square Enix cranks out, and they wonder why they keep flopping.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone else here has played Final Fantasy 15. I So I started it back in the day. I actually pre-ordered it because I love Final Fantasy. I'll give this a shot.
Mhm.
Then the way I would put it is I got busy, but while I was busy, it's not like I wasn't playing other games at the time.
Mhm.
Then like last year, I said, okay, I'm going to get all the DLC. It was like $15 at the time. I have this game. I'm going to sit down and play it. And it's just four guys. Like, okay, Final Fantasy VII is basically, oh, you jump off a train. You're launching a terrorist attack. Final
Yeah.
Fantasy X is, you're a sports star at the top of the world and everything goes wrong for you. This was, you're a prince and you and his three buddies driving a car slowly killing monsters because he's about to go get married.
Yeah. And T Rhino says he loves and hates Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah, well, this is the same studio that gave us that. So it's very pretty, but from what I can hear, the gameplay is a bit on the shallow side. And but what they have here that they didn't like, I would say Final Fantasy 15 has that kind of stilted Japanese to English dialogue that you can get sometimes.
Yeah.
From these big stuff, for these big Square Enix RPGs, just not with characters that are fun like in the other Final Fantasy games I mentioned.
Yeah.
This one adds the extra. You want to make a mixed bag of a game? Well, we'll see your stilted Japanese to English translations, and we'll raise you Marvel dialogue that would get rejected from She-Hulk.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, this based on the trailer, based on everything I'm seeing, I have no interest in getting and playing this game.
So there are a couple of lines I've heard that work in a few of the cutscenes and reviews I've watched, because not having a PS5 or a computer that can run this at any sort of optimal graphics and not wanting to die of cringe exposure,
Yeah.
I have not played Forspoken, so I count on some reviews to do it for me. They have wasted a perfectly good premise here, because the dialogue feels like someone described it like it's first draft writing where they didn't think about what you might actually be seeing. And whenever you have a dialogue scene, apparently, like if you're walking along and you want to talk and the cuff wants to talk with you, you stop. You can't walk at a slower pace while the cuff talks to you. It's like, oh no, you're rooted in place while the cuff talks to you.
Oh jeez. So it's like Zelda Ocarina of Time with the whatever for hey listen.
Yeah, but imagine that the hey listen made you stop and to tell you a bad joke.
Ugh.
And Only Ninja's coming to the game's defense slightly. There are I don't know how much of it you've seen. There are things with worse dialogue, but this is definitely a case of you have kind of how to put it. You have a main character who you understand where she's coming from, being in a hopeless situation, but she just doesn't seem to be pleasant to be or hang around with, and like she's kind of an asshole to everybody through the whole game, and then at the last minute they pretend that she has grown when she really hasn't. Now, this being a huge AAA game, of course, very expensive to make. Square Enix doesn't seem to make small projects anymore.
Yeah.
So and there's also, like I said, a PlayStation 5 release and a Steam release. What would you guess is this game's user rating on Metacritic for the PlayStation 5?
I'm gonna say like I don't know, probably on the low end.
35 or 3.5 out of 10 to be specific. Now, some people are like, one of these top 10 reviews here is like, the hate for this game is overblown. Seriously, people, you gotta let people dictate what you like, which that's fair enough. But the critics also give it like 66%, which is not encouraging.
No.
But there's a lot of it's a $70 game.
No, I'm not.
Which is the new normal. It's also not well optimized. And what's funny is that I think you could have made a game that looked this good on a PS4 or an Xbox One. Maybe you would have had to get like a PS4 Pro or an Xbox One X.
Yeah.
Yeah, but but you know, it's not quite the next gen experience, right?
Right.
So the recommended 24 gigabytes of RAM, Core i7 8700K, NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3070 with 8 gigabytes of VRAM, and 150 gigabytes of space. Yeah.
Whoa.
And this is not a game that operates well. I watched a Digital Foundry take on the PS or the PC one,
Yeah.
and they're like, "So what's the optimal build for this game?" They couldn't actually identify one because every single thing had trade-offs.
Oh,
Like,
jeez.
oh, this one, you know, if you turn off the ray tracing, you get these weird effects like this, or if you use this, if you use these settings, suddenly you have this stuttering.
Okay. Oh man.
The minimum, my PC, I think, could do the minimum. I think I have a 1660, so I'm a bit better than that. But that's to get a whopping 720 30 FPS, e.g., the standard of the Xbox 360 era, basically.
Jeez.
Yeah, you are not getting what you pay for here.
Yeah.
Now, so this is a game that was well known in advance. It was something they were trying to sell. It's like, hey, here's a reason to get a PS5, kids.
Yeah.
Apparently, the performance is not really great on there. And what do you know? Mixed reviews. 59% of the reviews for this game are positive on Steam, which is actually higher than I was expecting. Honestly, Metacritic can be a bit review bombed,
hmm
but still, like a 6 out of 10 is not a great score, which is basically
No,
what the Steam users are giving it and what the general critics are giving it. Now, we talked about how Hi-Fi Rush dropped out of nowhere. Let's see how they presented it. Imagine you've just watched them talk about Minecraft for 10 minutes. They're doing some sort of like survival battle mode thing with it. So and neither they're doing different things with Minecraft, even if I don't care. And then suddenly they switch over to this.
Yeah.
And you haven't ever heard of this game before.
Okay, let me bring it up here. Let's see.
And it just drops out of the blue.
Yeah. Yeah, and Ninja Toad's like 150 gig of space. He said that's Warhammer total war amount gigabyte space. Wow. All right, here we go. And turn it down a little.
Now, I will say there's a little bit of cringe here at the start because they did that opening that you keep seeing in things. So I'll just forewarn you on that. That was like, oh no, what is this? The rest of the trailer won me over, and the rest of them showing off the game.
All right, here we go.
Yep, that's me. And you're probably wondering how I ended up here. Well, it's pretty standard. Check this out. Music player in my chest. It's powering up my new robot arm. Whoa. It's making everything sync up with the beat. Let's rock. This is awesome.
Oh.
That's the defect.
What in the hell am I looking at?
The name's Chai, not defect.
Is this the guy?
We'll take down this company.
It kind of reminds me of the animation style. I'm trying to remember trying to think what it reminds me of. But yeah, I really like the look of
One
it.
boss at a time. Just so you know, they're insane.
Seriously.
generation rock star.
Future Rockstar.
Like just that robot appears periodically, and just the way that she like is so clearly done with life is great every time
Yeah.
she shows up.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Ninja Toe. It looks like evolution of Borderlands. Telltale games. That's what the animation style kind of reminds me. It reminds me of the Telltale games.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
So you have this mid-budget game that dropped 89% of Metacritic from the critics reviews, and 91 from users. On Steam, which it dropped on the same day, overwhelmingly positive, with more than twice the reviews as Forspoken. Now that I look at it,
Wow.
in fact, yeah, twice as many reviews in general. And guess where this also shows up? Revenue for Steam.
Ooh.
Now, this is a chart where Hi-Fi Rush debuted at number 7 on this chart. And this isn't raw unit sales. This is revenue based.
Wow.
So Hi-Fi Rush, you can buy it for $30. You get the digital deluxe edition for $40, which basically gives you some bonuses. It's like it's just like a tip for the developers, basically.
Yeah.
In terms of really being significant. Forspoken dropped at $70, and Forspoken does not appear in the top 10 in this chart.
Ooh.
And I should mention, Hi-Fi Rush is a game that you can go and get yourself a $1 trial to Xbox Game Pass if you don't already have Game Pass, and try it for $1 without having to give Steam money.
Wow. Man.
Oh, and that's nice. Holy Ninja says it looks like the developers are getting a bonus for getting a score over 85 Metacritic.
Oh, that's nice. Oh.
Good for them. They deserve it. I'm gonna keep playing this game in between my Persona sessions, but it's just been a delight so far. So we talk about how we look at things that kind of point to where things are going. Please, video game industry.
Yeah.
So the creators of Hi-Fi Rush have said that they were able to do this sort of AA, middleweight, lowish or moderately budgeted game with a studio that would normally be having to make AAA games because of the economics of so Ninja was just making a joke about Fallout New Vegas. Well, okay. I could have believed that, though. But anyway, they're saying that it was possible because the economics of Xbox Game Pass that they could make a game like this. But the fact that it's immediately so beloved is a great sign. Like, this is a new franchise.
Yeah, and I always like stories like this where a small video game like this gets a bunch of attention and people are really enjoying it. You know, I like stories like this. So,
and so while Blizzard is flailing around, Halo Infinite is bombing. Like the single player is okay, but nah. Well, I talk about that in a second, Rhino.
yeah.
So, and on and on and on. Square Enix keeps having major blunder after major blunder. Ubisoft is on fire. Activision Blizzard is a shell of its former self, and people are actually like, "Please, Microsoft, buy them out and fix them." Which that's a weird thing to want them to do. Like,
yeah.
When you was like, you'd be better off being owned by Microsoft. You got issues.
Yeah.
But games like Hi-Fi Rush are why I think people are okay with Activision being bought out by Microsoft, because outside of Halo, which seems to have been badly managed on every level for a while now, they seem to be willing to go, okay, we have this Game Pass revenue coming in, go make something you want to make.
Yeah.
Now, as far as what D-Ryan was talking about with the 360 marketplace being devalued now, it seems like a lot of things were just the licenses were expiring. You'll still be able to play them if you own them already, or if you get a physical disc of the games.
Okay.
So so it's not like they're actively eliminating your ability to play those old games. It's just, oh yeah, how is it that EA published a Dead Space remake that is well received? Because they also published a remake of Mass Effect that was well received.
Mm-hmm.
They seem to be able to do remakes and best of editions, so maybe EA can learn to get out of their own way too.
Yeah.
Because that's what we want to see. I say that don't make an Avengers looter shooter game with stiff controls and Kamala Khan.
Yeah.
Make me a AA level Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor game, and then make an Avengers game where they come together once you've learned your lessons. Yeah, I really hope that the Hi-Fi Rush inspires companies to, of course, because it's the entertainment industry, they'll go, oh, well, we need wacky hijinks and musical combat with lots of DLC and microtransactions. No, that's not the lesson. The lesson is let talented people do things at a modestly budgeted, well planned out level.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, if you told me that there was a world where I would be like, oh, EA is actually doing all right by its games or by some of its games that aren't sports games, and Activision Blizzard is awful, and Square Enix I would have scorn for, I would have told you that you were insane.
Yeah.
Speaking of things where you tell me you were insane,
Yes.
this took a little bit longer than anticipated. So
All
our
right.
other topic, this will be a long one.
Yeah, it'll be a long video. Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, so we're actually using our good friends at the Mary Sue because they had a decent breakdown of upcoming DC properties. But before we get out of the way, can I just say that DC DOA seems to be some sort of meme that people are trying to bring into reality.
Yeah.
After James Gunn's announcements about the upcoming projects that he's spearheading. And I've seen so many things where, like at first, like, okay, if you don't like the sounds of this, DC being DOA makes enough sense. But I saw a video where it's like the good DC announcements, the good, the bad, and the DOA. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
People are trying to meme this connection into existence.
Yeah, and I don't think it's gonna work.
No. Now, I don't know that this direction is going to work, but
yeah.
But we try to be fair. Let's go. Even the DCU's new Dream Team is towing the misogynist line about Batgirl's cancellation. Oh, that it was awful. Yeah, like what do you know?
Yeah. It was a terrible movie. Get over it.
The downside of going to the Mary Sue, but
yes.
Anyway, so we're going to ignore anything that wasn't part of that announcement.
Mm-hmm.
So he mentioned. So one thing that people have been making hay out of is him saying that Ezra Miller could still be the Flash. Go see this movie; it's amazing. Well, as far as go see this movie, it's amazing. Of course, you want people to go see Shazam, Flash, Blue Beetle, and Aquaman.
Yeah.
You're just because you're dumping your old stock on the market doesn't mean that you want people to not go see it just because it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah. If nothing else, it gives you some more money to play with.
Yep. I think that the Flash, like him saying good things about Ezra Miller, James Gunn saying good things about Ezra Miller, is a bit like when Donald Trump went to North Korea and was saying good things about Kim Jong-un because he was in the middle of negotiations with him.
Yeah.
It's like, duh. If I'm trying to convince Daniel to, I don't know, give me a free one of those boxes from his books. Am I going to go out there and say that Daniel's an awful person? No, of course not.
Yeah.
By the same token, if I'm trying to convince people to maybe spend $20 to go to the theater to see on their ticket and popcorn to watch Ezra Miller be 3 different Flashes.
Yeah.
I want to try to plant the idea that it's going to be a good time and he's good at his job.
Yeah, exactly. And if nothing else, you might be able to see Michael Keaton, Batman again.
Yes. So I have no interest in seeing the Flash still, but I
No.
understand the razzle dazzle.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
Blue Beetle is of them the one I'm the most likely to want to see.
Yeah, same here. I'm interested in. Yeah, I'm mildly curious about, mildly interested in it. Yeah,
It has a good chance of being different.
yeah, and it's Jaime Reyes, Blue Beetle, so
Yep.
that should be interesting.
Yeah, he has one of the more strong concepts of a recent comic book character.
Hmm.
And we got Aquaman with Amber Heard, so
No, skipping that one.
I was probably going to skip it anyway.
Yeah.
Going past a few other things. So we hit the first. So the first
Okay.
thing he actually mentioned before he got into Superman concept was Creature Commandos. Daniel, as a lifelong nerd, had you ever heard of the Creature Commandos until they were announced for this upcoming TV show or animated show for HBO Max?
No, I had never heard of them before.
Good, because me neither. It's like DC is littered with these oddball concepts like this that
Yeah.
that nobody knows about because everybody just focuses on Batman and Superman.
Oh, and good. We're not the only ones. Ninjato had never heard of them either.
Yeah, I was kind of in the same boat about Guardians of the Galaxy. This feels like something that is pure James Gunn going, what's the most James Gunn thing I can get James Gunn my way into the DC universe?
Yeah.
Because he loves little oddball things.
Yeah.
Now, if we scroll back up here to Superman Legacy, which is his Superman movie that he's penning, and man, that's a rushed development cycle.
Yeah. I think I don't think they're going to make that release date.
It depends on how ambitious it is, because if it's modestly budgeted, which could actually be like the saving grace of these movies, if you try to shove a $200 million budget into some of these, you're stupid.
Yeah.
Just flat out stupid.
Yeah.
Right. The DCU depends on Superman Legacy. They have to get this right. But the thing I'll say is that he said, quote, Superman is kind in a world that thinks that kindness was it outdated or old fashioned?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
That sounds like he actually gets Superman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm somewhat optimistic for this movie because of that, and I of course I don't know who they're going to line up for a villain for this movie. I mean, I don't know if they're going to do Lex Luthor or if they're going to maybe do hopefully it's not like a Man of Steel where you have this like global catastrophe that could happen.
Yes.
Like just keep it smaller.
He talks about how he's struggling with his human and Kryptonian legacy, hence the title.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to wager, my money's on Brainiac.
Ooh.
Because that'd be a good villain to bring in. It's a villain that everybody keeps saying, why haven't we had a Brainiac movie yet? Why do we have Zod and Lex Luthor again? Bring us Brainiac.
Yeah, I'd like to see Brainiac in a movie. Yeah,
Brainiac would get me excited.
Yeah.
And it would play into the whole Krypton legacy thing without it being another Dragon Ball Z fight like a Man of Steel.
Man of Steel. Oh yeah. Oof.
So Gunn may write and direct the film, though he has yet to formally commit.
Okay.
So he might just end up writing it, which might not be the worst thing.
Yeah.
We are getting a Amanda Waller TV show to go with a season 2 of Peacemaker.
I have no interest in this show at all. I don't. Giving Amanda Waller a TV show doesn't make any sense to me at all. She's not a leading character. She's kind of her whole shtick is that she works in the shadows, in the background. Like
yes.
she's not a headlining character.
And in my opinion, so I think I've mentioned before that one thing that gives me pause is that I have not finished a James Gunn DC universe joint that I have not finished one. I watched 2 episodes of Peacemaker and half of the Suicide Squad and noped out. part of
Right.
what I didn't like about it. I hated the way he wrote Amanda Waller's support team as just a bunch of assholes.
Oh.
Like there were no interesting characters in that bunch.
Uh,
Now, the one girl from, or the one woman from Peacemaker who becomes his friend could be good in theory, but I don't know that she's in this, and I just don't care. It's
yeah.
just
Mm.
it's like the Marvel version of the MCU version of Nick Fury is not a main character. Neither is Waller.
Right. Yeah.
Lanterns, Hal
This could be-
Jordan and
Jon Stewart.
Jon Stewart. Yes.
This could be interesting. This could be the show that I was hoping Falcon and the Winter Soldier would be.
Yes, that because it is being described as it's like a buddy cop Green Lantern show.
Yeah. And and James Gunn said it was going to be kind of like True Detective. Of course, I haven't watched True Detective, so I can't say anything about that. But yeah.
It's cool that they're giving it a shot, and I think TV might be the right way to do Green Lantern after that movie.
Oh yeah,
with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, that movie was an abomination.
So far we are a no opinion because it's a franchise I have no relationship to. It's probably just going to be another The Suicide Squad with a different team.
Yeah.
We have 2 notes of optimism, and we have we could not possibly give a care so far. So
yeah.
Let's see here. Let me go ahead and pull up a nice little sticky note here.
Bad one. Okay.
So our ratings here are good 2, bad 1, triple question mark 1.
1. All right.
The Authority, based on the Wildstorm comic book, which, by the way, they made a point that unless they label it as Elseworlds, it's part of the main DC continuity.
Mm.
Now, I have not personally read much of The Authority. I just kind of know of it.
I'm going to be honest. I'd never heard of it until the announcement. I watched I watched Midnight's Edge talking about it, and I think it was Script Doctor who said that this was a really dark series.
It kind of sounds a lot like The Boys, but with like less of a comedic bent.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of possibly a problem if you're trying to set them up as Superman in the same world as them. Because I think if Superman existed in the same world as the Authority or the Boys, for that matter, it would go a lot like Superman versus the Elite, where they could not exist under the same sun, and one or the other of them will get wiped out.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to call this a question mark leaning on bad.
Yeah, I'd say so. It could it could very easily, like you're saying. If it's in the same universe, it could go very badly.
That could be setting up a Superman versus the Authority movie, which could be interesting.
Yeah, that could be interesting.
So not knowing much about the comics outside of reputation, I'm willing to suspend judgment on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike this one, Paradise Lost.
Yeah.
Gunn didn't reveal too many details about the series, but he described it as Game of Thrones with Amazons.
Does that mean Game of Thrones as in the excessive nudity, or Game of Thrones as in excessive violence?
They aren't going to do anything that the male audience would enjoy.
You're right. Yeah. Ninja Toe, what have they done? What have they done to Wonder Woman?
Let's be fair. I don't think Wonder Woman's even going to appear in this one.
No, it's a prequel. It's going to be when the Amazons are fighting they're fighting whoever the world of man, and then getting their independence.
Their Constellation Island.
Yeah, the Constellation Island. Yeah, Themyscira. Yeah.
So I think we can safely put this in the bad category.
Yeah. Yeah.
Next up, The Brave and the Bold, Batman with his son Damian Wayne as Robin.
No. 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 No.
Yeah, Damian isn't my favorite Robin. Actually, isn't even in my top 3 favorite Robins.
Yeah.
Actually, no, top 4 because I always forget about what's her name from The Dark Knight Returns.
Oh, Carrie Kelly.
Yes. Why Damian Wayne? Well, because apparently James Gunn. So we've talked about how James Gunn is a big nerd before. Apparently, he's a big nerd who has continued to read comic books, and he really liked this Grant Morrison run of Batman that introduced Damian Wayne, which he name dropped.
Yeah. Yeah. And Damian is a blight. Yeah.
He is good if you pair him up with John Kent, Superman's son, as like a pair of prepubescent boys fighting crime together in like childish adventures.
Yeah.
Aside from that, Damian already got. God, they did a redo of the Trigon story from Teen Titans, and they made Damian the main character over Raven. We might argue that Raven was the main character, but they made it about Damian still.
Yeah. Yeah, and Ninja Joe says they would need to rewrite Damian to be less an edgy kid. He's only good when he paired up with Nightwing.
Well, this being James Gunn, if anything, there'll be more edge. So I think we can call this
bad. Yeah.
Booster Gold.
Booster Gold. Now this is a TV show, I think.
Yes.
Okay.
This feels like it's in Gunn's wheelhouse of cultish things that the mainstream hasn't really heard of.
Yeah. My only exposure to Booster Gold was that one episode of Justice League Unlimited.
I've read a few comics of his, and yeah, he is a fun character. I was hearing Chris Pratt. I don't know if they were saying like Chris Pratt would be a good Booster Gold, or if he's actually signed on for this at all.
I think they're saying that he would be a good Booster Gold, and I would agree. Yeah, and the fact that he's already worked with James Gunn. I mean, he has a working relationship with him. I mean, that would make sense.
Basically, if you're familiar with Booster Gold, he is like almost like the Daffy Duck of superheroes in the sense that he wanted to be seen. Yeah, he had a inferiority complex in the future, so he stole some common technology from the 29th century or whatever he's from, and went back in time with the idea I can use it to be a superhero. This is a bit like if you or I said, "Well, I'm just an ordinary nobody. I know I'll steal a tank and a machine gun and go back in time and be a superhero in the Middle Ages."
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that with Gunn's predilections and skills set, he has the potential to do a very good Booster Gold. And unlike the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker, it wouldn't lend itself to the overly gritty take that I don't like from his DC stuff I've seen so far.
Yeah. Yeah.
Supergirl World of Tomorrow. Part of the other downside of having a nerd who's continued to read comic books. This is a comic book that came out last year by the infamous Tom King, the lover of deconstruction.
Yeah. Yeah. Anytime you invoke the name Tom King, that's an automatic hell no in my book.
Automatic bad.
Yeah.
It's also the fact that this is a version of Supergirl who is extremely negative and doesn't feel like she has a place in the world of Superman, which it is too early to do that story when you have had one Superman movie in your universe. You have to at least have a movie or TV show or something where Superman finds Supergirl, and then you can build up to her feeling like she's not needed anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Ninja Toes is Supergirl's going to suck. Yeah.
Yeah. So the only hope with this one is that it actually gets canceled. Like anything we are talking about here, except for Superman Legacy, I think has a decent chance of development hell keeping it from coming to screen.
Yeah.
So come on, development hell.
Yes. Yes. Development hell.
Or if you don't have development hell, go ahead and just cast Brie Larson. Have her go on the circuit and talk about how Supergirl is stronger than Superman.
Oh yeah, they did that on the TV show.
What?
They had Supergirl be stronger than Superman and faster than Superman, and
Oh, that was technically a thing from the Batman Superman comics in the 2000s too, where she was technically stronger than him.
Oh, okay.
Which doesn't make a lot of sense if you think about it from like a physiology perspective, but as like a plot element to make her harder to control for Superman, it makes sense.
Yeah. Well, and I guess it kind of makes sense for her to be faster because she's smaller.
Yeah. Yeah. But
But,
this is also like a misuse of the Supergirl character. It almost feels like they're going wildly out of their way to be different than the TV show version, who
Yeah.
was largely a chipper, happy person.
Yeah. Yeah. Ninja Toast says we need to perform dark development rituals to cause this.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the last one he dropped the name of was Swamp Thing.
If it's Alan Moore's Swamp Thing, it could be good.
Yep. Might not be my thing, but it would be a good thing for other people.
Yeah.
A swamp thing, a swamp good thing, if you will. That
Swamp good thing. Yeah.
While Gunn hinted the film would be a bit tonally different from other DCU projects, he promised it would still fit in the grander scheme of things. I'm willing to call this a preliminary good, just because they have a lot of strong material to draw from.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think so too. And you know, like I said, if they're going more in keeping with Alan Moore's Swamp Thing, I mean it could work. You know, you know that's the one that yeah Ninja Toast says Swamp Thing has a decent track record.
Right. So it's kind of a funny thing. So we think we've talked before about how well, what was the guy who did the Wrath of Khan?
Nicholas Meyer.
Nicholas Meyer. I knew. Thanks. I knew I could rely on you for Star Trek knowledge.
Yeah.
When Nicholas Meyer was brought in to do Star Trek 2, he had never actually sat down and watched Star Trek before.
Right.
And so having that outsider's perspective, he went through, and when he hit the Khan episode, he's like, "Wait, why did this guy ever appear again? Let's do something about that."
Yeah. Yeah, and when he watched it, and when he was, you know, being described to him, he was like, "Oh, it's like Horatio Hornblower in space," and he could get behind it. So I mean, if you get somebody, you know, who can, you know, may not know anything about Swamp Thing, but once you throw a few comic books at him, and be like, "Oh, okay, I think I can figure this character out."
And see, that's where I was going with it. If we had a major studio person who had never read a comic book before in his life, that we could roll the dice and possibly get that. Where I think that for most characters that you like, where you've read the comic books or seen the movies or watched the TV shows, like if I somehow met somebody who had never seen a Batman thing before, I could sit down, come up with 10 TV show episodes, a couple of movies, and probably a half dozen comic books to kind of get them up to speed. And if they jive with it, it would work great. James Gunn is not that guy. James Gunn has been reading comic books possibly longer than we've been alive.
Yeah.
Actually, almost certainly longer than we've been alive. And so he has something awful. Tastes and opinions. And these tastes and opinions of what makes a good Superman or a good Batman or a good Creature Commando comic
Yeah.
are going to be different than ours, just because he is not going by what the consensus is for what makes a good story for these characters. He is going off of how he sees the characters. At least that's how I'm seeing his choice of development track record.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I know there were a lot of people who were like, you know, really somewhat happy that he got hired on. I've been very, very timid about it. You know, I mean, I enjoyed the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, although in my opinion, Volume 2 wasn't as good as Volume 1.
I enjoyed Volume 2, but I have to agree with that.
Yeah, and of course, the holiday special was funny. And of course, we still have the third Guardians to look forward to. I have not seen. I have not watched it. You've seen more of the Suicide Squad than I have, and I haven't watched Peacemaker, so I can't comment on those. But I mean, he seems to be able to. Uh, Going off of Guardians of the Galaxy, he can do a pretty good blend between humor and melodrama. Um, I mean, I remember when my mom when she first watched the first Guardians of the Galaxy, said she was crying at the beginning of the movie, like when she was seeing the opening scene of the movie, she was crying because when Peter Quill's mom passes away, like I mean, he has that effect. I mean, he can tell stories and everything, but whether or not he can, tell a story with these characters,
Can he get out of his own way? Can he see his own blind spots?
yeah,
Will Superman be peppered with pop culture references that rely on the actor's charisma to be funny?
yeah,
Well, now I will say that one thing that's interesting when we go over it is, um, let's see here, was the okay. So let's kind of break this down. So we have our good, bad,
yeah.
rating here. Let's go by what kind of media we're looking at here.
Okay,
Movie. So movie. Swamp Thing is going to be a movie.
yeah.
Supergirl is going to be a
Girls a
movie.
movie.
Booster Gold is going to be a live action show.
Yeah,
Brave and the Bold is going to be a movie.
yeah.
Paradise Lost will be a live action show.
Show.
I think this is the one that has the greatest chance of dying in development hell, by the way.
Yeah, I do too.
The Authority will be a movie. Lanterns will be a TV show. Waller will be a TV show. Creature Commandos will be a
Live
animated
action
show.
or animated, yeah.
Then
Superman is a
Legacy is
movie.
going to be a movie. Okay. So if we ignore the TV, so if you take a look at these as kind of separate, we're going to have a Superman, Supergirl, Swamp Thing, Batman, and
The Authority.
the Authority movies. So we've got we've got really two with well-established characters, Batman and Superman.
Hmm.
We've got a spin-off character in Supergirl. We've got and we've got a cult classic in Swamp Thing, like literary comic book circles like that. And then we've got the WTF Authority there.
Yeah, yeah.
So what is this? Why haven't I ever heard of it? If you're not a comic book fan.
Yeah. And that last one, that might, and that could be, with James Gunn being such a big comic book fan, that could be a detriment to DCEU because he is so familiar with it.
Right. Will he be able to will he be able to explain to somebody via the movie why they should like the Creature Commandos or why they should like the Authority?
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah,
Truth be told, when I heard the Authority was going to be in that mix, I thought, was Jim Lee in that meeting? Did Jim Lee say he wanted another check?
maybe. Although, with Lanterns, getting a TV show, more checks for Ethan Van Sciver.
Yeah, if they use anything he made.
Yeah, yeah. If they use like, if Jessica Cruz shows up or
Yep.
Atrocitus or yeah.
Yep. But it's like the movies seem like they are like too. Okay, people are going to go see a Batman or a Superman movie. The question is, how much are they going to see it?
Yeah.
Supergirl seems like with this take they're doing on it, it might actually appeal to wine moms or like childless, sad people in their 30s.
Yeah.
who actually seem to go for those types of characters.
Mm-hmm.
which is actually something I kind of forgot to mention during the Forspoken thing. I think that the reason so much writing is bad is because there are so many writers who spend all day on Twitter, and they think that the way that like the jaded assholes people portray themselves as on Twitter is normal,
Yeah.
and they don't understand why people don't like those characters.
Yeah.
But anyways, now as far as the TV show, we've got a Green Lantern show, we've got a Waller show, we've got a what else do we have here? We have Booster
Paradise
Gold.
Booster Gold and Paradise Lost.
That's kind of what I would say is kind of smart in terms of casting a wide net, because you've got like a range of tastes that you're covering there.
Yeah.
And then Creature Commandos, yeah, make it an animated movie because DC has a good pipeline for straight-to-video animated movies.
Mm-hmm. And most of them are pretty good.
Yep. And you've got like a concept there that's so bizarre that test the waters first with an animated property.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think it will make the way to live action.
I don't think so either. Yeah.
But
well, yeah, I think, and I know a lot of people were, kind of talking about like how, him making this announcement, the way he did was a little odd, but I think he kind of had to do it because people have been chirping at him and about him for the last, what has it been, like 2 or 3 months since he got this job, and he needed to put out something for people.
Yes, people had to know what was actually happening.
Yeah.
Now, will any of this actually congeal? I can tell you that I remember seeing my grandfather used to be a investor in Marvel back during the early days of Spider-Man, and when they were ramping up to the MCU, and they were planning, I remember that Iron Fist movie that totally happened. Remember that Shang-Chi movie? Well, actually, Shang-Chi did eventually happen 20 years later. But remember that Iron Fist and that Luke Cage movie that totally happened? And how there were multiple Elektra movies?
Yeah.
And how Man-Thing totally came to theaters and was a huge success.
Yeah.
Instead of being dumped on Sci-Fi Channel.
Yeah. And hey, Creators Outlet, good to see you.
Hey.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you just look at it, there's a decent chance that a lot of these aren't going to happen, or they're going to be totally unrecognizable by the time you get there.
Yeah.
Calm down, wait for it to be bad. I think we're at least going to get the best Superman movie in 30 years out of this.
I think so too. Yeah. It'll. Yeah, and yeah, I think a lot of this people kind of need to relax, and like I said, I think like you said, these are tentative. I think at best, some of them are, and who knows.
By the way, the reason you announce this well in advance to see what people actually want.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, go ahead and complain about it. Don't be surprised if Paradise Lost keeps slipping down the schedule and never happens.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have not heard a single person say they were interested in this show in the least.
Yeah. I don't know anybody who'd be interested in this TV show.
The Creature Commandos is pretty decent. That's pretty much a sure thing because that's their first thing they're doing in this new DCEU or DCU or whatever they're calling it. Superman, I would expect it to slip into the fall of 2025.
Yeah, maybe closer to Christmas. Yeah.
Yep. Although they might not want to compete with Avatar.
Oh, that's right.
That's a thing.
Yeah.
But Brave and the Bold, that could shift some. Like Damian, I think, has the most chance of not being in there if somebody goes, well, we don't want to skip past to the other Robins, and is Damian actually a popular character?
Yeah.
I think Booster Gold has a really good chance of actually happening because that's exactly the type of thing that a TV show is good for.
Yeah. Yeah, I do too.
Supergirl, I think, has a decent chance of not making it out just because somebody's going to go, wait, okay, I know that we want to cut Tom King a check for some reason, but Does it make sense to introduce this version of Supergirl with this story?
I don't think so.
But again, we're the problem of we're nerds who have opinions. So
Yeah.
and there are people like if we came up with our slate of DC movies, they'd be talking about how DOA we were.
True. Yeah.
Like there is a level at this point where the DC universe outside of Batman has kind of become synonymous with failure in the eyes of many people.
Yeah. Yeah, and and we'll just have to wait and see if that changes in the next couple of years.
Yes, indeed. But you know what doesn't ever change, Daniel?
What's that?
The need for people who like our channel to like, subscribe, and make comments on our video.
Yes, exactly. Thank you everybody for joining us for this extra long episode of Critique Corner.
Yes, wherein we have mixed signals, but I think video games has always been more tied into reality than movies have been, just because they're so expensive to make. Hopefully somebody at these studios is going, okay, what's our hi-fi rush?
Yeah. Yeah, we can only hope. Yeah.
Indeed.
All right. Well, yes. Thank you all again for watching, and do all the stuff that DB said to do. And we will see you all next week. Good night, everybody.
Later, guys.